Hello and welcome. This is Angie with thecountrysheetcottage.net. So today's video is sponsored by Cricut. However, all projects and opinions are my own. So today we're going to talk about 5 projects that you can make using scrap vinyl and scrap iron-on. So all of these projects you can make using either one, just depending on the surface that you're using it on. But I have projects all the way from really easy, where you don't even need a Cricut machine, you just need like your scrap little pieces or you've been cutting with your Cricut, all the way to more difficult where you'll cut out something with your Cricut and then add some scraps to the project. So let's start with the first project. The first project's so easy, you really don't even need a Cricut machine. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this wood frame and we're going to paint it white. This project in particular is perfect for all those little bitty scraps you get when you're weeding away a project. So instead of weeding that away, leave it attached to the backing paper and cut it into various triangle shapes, and then keep those triangle shapes for projects like this. Then we're going to allow this to dry before continuing. So while your frame dries, you can start cutting some triangles. So these are just some scraps I had on hand. But like I said, you can do this as you go along with like the edges of pieces that you cut for your projects. You just want a wide variety of triangle-like shapes. Then once your frame is dry, you just start peeling and sticking. So for each one of these, we're just going to peel the vinyl from the backing and stick it randomly on the frame. And there you have a completed frame. All you have to do is add a picture. The second one is another one you don't have to have a machine for. So if you have small pieces left after you get done cutting, we're just going to cut those into thin strips. You want to keep these lines as straight as possible. And then we'll cut those thin strips into random sized rectangles. Now you have random pieces of confetti or sprinkles or whatever you want to call them. I'm going to put them on a coffee mug. So I did want to note here that some of these projects, like this one, I'm using it with adhesive vinyl, but you could definitely use these with heat transfer vinyl as well. Just on, a fabric surface or something like that. So don't think that you're limited to just the adhesive vinyl. We'll do some heat transfer vinyl projects as well. And then we're just going to start peeling and sticking these randomly to our coffee mug. Now on coffee mugs, I like to keep it down at the bottom. And here you have your completed mug, just with some vinyl scraps. So now let's look at another vinyl scraps project. Alright, next up we have 2 projects with iron-on. And with these 4 super small scraps of iron-on, we're going to make 2 different projects. So I've already cut my pieces. So the 2 ideas I have for you are rainbows as well as shapes. So let's weed away the excess on this one. So first of all, rainbows. Don't think about traditional rainbow colors. The scraps in your craft room can actually make cute rainbows no matter what the colors are. So we're going to put these 4 together and make a cute rainbow banner. Now, when you are cutting something like a rainbow and it has spaces around the outside or spaces within the inside of like the rainbow itself, think about cutting shapes from that. So I added hearts to the areas where there wasn't anything, and I'm going to use those on the zipper pouch. And then for the rainbow, I'm going to do the rainbow in different orders for each different banner. So I could actually nest these rainbow pieces within one another. So the second tip I have is nesting. When you go to cut on your Cricut, sometimes it lays out like these pieces. It wanted to lay them out all across the length, so the 12 by 12 sheet. It wanted to lay them all the way across, but I can move them around. So you can move it once you start cutting. And you can move your pieces around to where it uses as little material as possible and put things like the hearts in the areas where there are not anything, so that you can use as much of the area as possible and as much of your material as possible there, and then you can make as many crafts as possible. So I'm going to continue weeding all these pieces, and then we'll start assembling our projects. So once we've weeded everything, we can just start cutting these off. So I'm just going to cut the hearts off, and those we're just going to place randomly around this zipper pouch. And you can do this with any shape and any project. So think about hats, shirts, onesies, and think about any shape that you like and adding those when you're cutting, say, heat transfer vinyl or vinyl, and just keeping them on hand for various projects. Now, the rainbow is another shape I like for using up scraps because it nests so well. So each of these will go on a different banner flag, and each of the banner flags will have a different order for the rainbow. Then we'll just continue in the same manner with all of our colors. And then once we have everything laid out, we can start pressing. Now, for both of these projects, I'll actually have the cut file available for these in the description below, so you can definitely grab that if you want to make the exact same project. Or you can just use the idea on your own project and using up your own scraps. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of arrange these in a cute arrangement, and then I already have my Easy Press set. And I'm using the smallest Easy Press, but you can definitely use any size Easy Press that you have for this. Just the zipper portion, just be sure not to get your Easy Press up on that, because it'll hold it off of some of the iron-on. Then we're just going to flip this over and press from the back. Then we'll just let this cool before peeling away the carrier sheets. And then once this is cool, we can just start peeling away these carrier sheets on all the hearts. And then this project is finished, and we'll move on to our banner. For each of the banner flags, we'll start with the largest piece, press it for the 30 seconds from the front. Then we'll allow this to cool and remove the carrier sheet. Save that carrier sheet and add the next color. Put the old carrier sheet over the first color to protect it. Then press again for 30 seconds. Then once you have all four colors on there, be sure to flip it over. After you remove all the carrier sheets, flip that over and press from the back for about 15 seconds. And then we'll continue the same procedure for all four of our banners. So here are all four flags completed, and then we're going to put them on a piece of twine. So I just chose a piece of twine that I liked, and we're just going to attach these with hot glue. So what I like to do is actually turn them all over. Then just run hot glue along the back at the top then we'll just lay the twine in the hot glue, and then I have these silicone fingertips just so I don't burn myself. And I'll repeat for all 4 flags. Then once you've done all 4, you have a cute pendant banner ready to hang up in your home, all with scraps. So now that's the 4th scrap project. We have 1 more to complete. Next on our list of scrap busting projects is geometric design. So we're going to use vinyl for this and put it on a wood slice. You can also do the same thing with heat transfer vinyl. So the first thing we're going to do is I cut out a design from black. So the scraps we're going to use are actually going to go inside this. So I will have scraps with the black portion, but it's actually mostly triangles. I'm going to do an elephant. You can search Cricut Design Space for geometric, and you can find a ton of different geometric shapes to do this same thing with. Now what I could do, I could use the triangles out of this elephant to add to a picture frame, just like I did before with the triangles that I used. But I'm just going to stack these up for this. With the picture frame I made before, these triangles would be perfect for that project. Alright, now I'm going to finish weeding this, and then we're going to get to this using scraps portion of this project. Obviously this large portion is not a scrap, but you could do it smaller and it could be made out of a scrap. But I'm going to show you how to use your scraps to fill in these triangles for a really gorgeous look. Alright, so now that our piece is all weeded, we are going to cut scrap pieces to fit in all of these little places. Now you can do this a couple different ways. I'm going to use my bright pad. I'm actually going to turn that on. And when you lay over the piece, you can see the outline. So what I'm going to do is take a pencil and line up at least one side of my scrap. So because these lines are black like this, you can just, it does not have to be perfect. You can go to about the center of the line with your cuts. And as long as it fits in there, you'll be fine. And then you can just trim that with a pair of scissors. You have one piece ready to go. So I'm just going to continue cutting little pieces. Now some of these, if they're super small, you could use like one color for the whole thing. You don't have to have individual colors for each section. Just add different colors however you would like, but you can cover multiple sections with one color. So I'm going to continue cutting up my scrap pieces, and then we'll talk about transferring it to the wood. Alright, so now I've cut out a bunch of different small pieces. Now we're going to kind of be working on this backwards because we're going to be working on it with transfer tape. So I am going to move all these pieces over here, but upside down, and somewhat keep them in order. Alright, and then we'll use a piece of transfer tape, and the first thing I'm going to get is the black portion. So we'll just lay this down, burnish really well. Flip that over, burnish once again. And then we will peel back the backing. Then for each of these pieces, remember we flipped the whole thing, so this one will go over here. And for each of these pieces we'll peel the backing and lay it down with the sticky side up. And the edges of the black should cover all the edges of the vinyl itself. So once you get all your pieces in place, it's just as simple as adding to your surface. Burnishing it down really well. And then peeling that back. And we'll just go over it one more time. And this scrap project is ready to go. Alright, so I hope you loved those 5 projects. So let's take a look at all of them. So the super easy ones are the picture frame with the little scraps of vinyl decorating the outside. This is an amazing use of small scraps. It doesn't even require you to cut the scraps with your Cricut. So super, super easy. The next one is this cute mug. Again, you don't even have to have your Cricut machine to cut these little scraps into little sprinkles for cups, or use the sprinkles on the bottom of a shirt, on the sleeves of a shirt, on a hat, on shoes, like tons and tons of ideas to use those sprinkles, vinyl or iron-on. The next 2, we used our Cricut machine to actually cut the scraps, and we talked about cutting hearts, dots, hexagons, whatever shape, out of whatever area of the design you're going to scrap. So make your Cricut cut those while you're cutting your project at the same time. And then you'll have a stack or a bin of various sizes of hearts, circles, hexagons, whatever the shape. And then you can use those to embellish another project super easily and quickly. So we just made a little zipper pouch with those. And then my other favorite thing to do is use rainbows for smaller scraps, because you can fit those rainbow shapes all together, kind of nest them. And the rainbows don't have to be traditional rainbow colors. So I use a non-traditional rainbow color scheme, and all my rainbows are actually different, so it's perfect for scraps. Now, for projects like this, I recommend using Snap Mat with an iOS device. And I have another video that shows you how to do that, and I'll link that up below so you can see how to do that as well. But that just helps you locate your cuts when you're doing a project like that, and maybe you have small little pieces of iron-on or vinyl that you want to cut out of. So then our last project. So we kind of went from the easiest and then to like a medium difficulty, and then the most difficult project we did, but possibly the best looking one and the most stunning, was this elephant art. And again, you can do this with any shape, whatever. Just look for geometric shapes in Cricut Design Space. There's tons of different shape options with this outline. I would recommend the larger outlines. So some of them have super skinny, almost pencil outlines, and those would be harder to do. So I do recommend using the shapes that have the thicker outline around them, like this elephant head. And then just cut your scraps to fit, and you can use as many colors as you want. So if you have a ton of small little bitty pieces of scraps that you've been saving over the years, this one just might be for you. Now, this is with vinyl. If you're gonna do this with iron-on, yes, you have to iron on each of these little pieces individually. So it does get a little bit more tedious, I think. I like this one better with vinyl, but it can definitely be used for an iron-on project as well. So, if you loved these 5 projects that you can make with scraps, please give us a thumbs up. And I hope you will make some of them, because I cannot wait to see what you create with those scraps that are just laying around your house. I mean, we could all use a little crafting to control our stress, and this is a great way to do that for less cost. Also, if you haven't seen already, Cricut has released thousands of cut files right in Cricut Design Space to use for free right now. So you might want to head on over to Cricut Design Space and search for your perfect project to cut out of scraps and use our 5 projects as inspiration. So if you haven't already, head on over to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button because you know that you want to see all of our Cricut videos and we have them every week. You'll also want to ask any questions you have about any of our projects or anything you want to know about your Cricut machine in the comment section below, and we will get to those as soon as we can. Thank y'all so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.